Hello and welcome to the Real DnD podcast talkback.
Yay!
Yay! That's a mouthful.
That was a
That
long
really is.
title. That was a long title.
But we are here without Vanessa, sadly, just to do a little wrap up and ask each other the burning questions that we wanted to know. So, who wants to start?
I don't know if it's a matter of like we just select one person and then we all just go to town on that one person asking stuff, or we just like go around the
That's
room.
funny.
Do you want to do the hot seat?
The
Who
hot
wants to be
seat.
hot seat?
The hot seat. We can do the hot seat. Who's in the hot seat
Do
first?
you want me to roll?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's roll for it.
Let's roll for it.
I bet it's gonna be Grayson.
It's gonna be
I'm gonna roll a d4 and exclude myself.
Got it.
Alrighty, Howie.
Ah.
All right.
You
Okay.
got the hot seat.
This was fun until it was me.
Oh no, my plans.
Oh no.
Okay. Howie, what was your favorite thing you invented?
Oh, that I invented? Let's see. I really liked the first thing that came to mind was the scanner for detect magic and stuff like that. I thought that was a very cool visual, and I really liked that. But I also liked the Humungulus, which was his little robot that he had. I never gave him a name, and looking back, I wish I would have. But so he's just the Humungulus. I liked the flavor of having it as like a little robot that he just kind of followed him around, like a little like toy robot. I thought that was really cool. But I think like my overall favorite would probably be like the Battle Fist. So when we leveled up to level 3, I took my subclass. It's called Master Maker. It's a subclass within the Artificer group, and essentially you get it's designed for characters that like have like appendages and like so like robotic arms or like robotic legs. But like the actual like stats of it were very cool. So I flavored it as like he just put all of his gadgets into this glove, which he had been using the entire time anyway. So I feel like it made sense. So I think my favorite was probably that, but I also liked some of the other stuff.
All right. All right.
I was thinking for Howie, and I guess more about his father, like the whole story behind Howard and like him like working with these contraptions, stuff like that. Like, was that any of that story, like between like Howard and like was it Duncan and stuff like that? Was that any of the stuff that you thought of, or was that like all on Kat to figure out? I don't know if there's like more to your backstory, like what you thought between you and your father, that like relationship.
Yeah, I mean, Kat, you can kind of speak on this too if you want. Basically, when Kat pitched us the world, I took that and I was kind of thinking like, oh, I want to like make like a conspiracy theorist who is like who like knows like all this magic stuff it exists, but isn't totally like sure of it. And so I kind of like
He's asking like questions, but he doesn't have the answers.
Exactly. And so I kind of working backwards from that, I was like, okay, well, why does he care? Why does he know this? Like, no, why does he think he knows this exists? And then why does he care about the disappearing? So basically what I pitched to Kat was that Howie like grew up with his mom and dad, and that Howard like taught him how to like engineer and like math and science and like how to invent stuff essentially. And then when he disappeared and like he was presumed dead, Howie found like these magic notebooks up in Howard's like workshop essentially. And that little bit was like something that like didn't make I don't think it ever made one of the episodes. But basically he found these notebooks, and then from there he was like, oh, I think like what he was teaching me was magic. Because you see like runes and stuff like that all in these notebooks. And then from there he was like, I'm gonna go find this. I'm gonna go find magic, and then that's where we meet him in episode 1. So, Kat, I don't know what more you can speak to that as to how.
When you told me you wanted to be a professor's son who has also mysteriously gone missing and presumed dead, I was like, oh yeah, love this.
Well, initially when I pitched that, I was thinking that Howard was going to be the first like victim, not that he was the one working on this. Like that was like where my brain was like, this is where I think this is going. And then the further along we got, I was like, oh no, Howard is like very much alive. He's not a good person.
I always knew that I wanted Howard to be alive.
Mhm.
But I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to kill him off.
Sure. Just out of
Yeah.
curiosity, in like what scenario would we have killed him off, do you think?
So from the beginning, I knew that I wanted Duncan to be the bad guy.
Mhm.
I wanted to make a trusted companion of yours not actually be so trustworthy and have like a side that you weren't expecting and a plot twist at the end. But when you guys were getting so like, by you guys, I mean when Lawrence was getting so emotionally attached to Duncan, I was second guessing myself and I was like, maybe I should switch it so that Howard is the main villain. But I hated that, so I immediately said no, Duncan's gonna stay the villain. But I also didn't know whether or not you were going to pick up on the fact that Duncan made him do all of this.
Mhm.
And you have some crazy people in your party, aka Lawrence, and I never really know what your next move is, so I was like half expecting Howard to be dead by the end of the campaign.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we definitely could have gone like gung ho on Howard and think, yeah.
There was definitely like a few episodes in the middle where I was like, okay, so the big bad evil guy is like my dad. Like there was
I wanted you guys to
a
believe
full
that.
like
That's-
7 episodes where I thought that like we were gonna have to kill my dad.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was thinking too. I was like, okay, so this is, oh, so this Howard guy, this guy's new. Okay, so this is like probably we're gonna end up. That's probably gonna be like end game. Like we confront this person and we fight it out.
Right. If you guys hadn't have sent Vanessa in there, you probably would have been all stabby and not, wait, let's hear him out.
Probably, yeah.
So when you guys made the move, the right move to send Vanessa in there to get information and not just be like, you're evil, that's when I was like, okay, so you're not going to kill him. Because I wanted you guys to think it was Howard. I wanted you guys to be completely confused about Duncan.
Yeah. I honestly I didn't even suspect Duncan. Like that was like complete out of the blue.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
that was the goal.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
So Drew, I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
No, it does. I was just curious to see like what that was like in terms of like creating that story. If that was like part of like that was all on your end or like how much was on Cat. So no, I got that because I thought really the relationship between Howard and Howie. I guess even before like I even knew that Howard was your father. I don't know. I just thought Howard was such like an interesting character, and then learning more about him and the fact that that was your father and just like the relationship you two have had and how it's not been great in like most recent times, and then just seeing like that develop and then like how it ended and stuff like that. I really liked the chemistry and the relationship between the two of them a lot. That was definitely one of my favorites.
I mean, especially like before he disappeared, they had like a really, really strong relationship, like a very, very good relationship. And then for me, when Howie found out that his dad was alive, it became this thing of, so he's been alive for 4 years and he hasn't told me why, and that's where a lot of the tension and for Howie comes from.
Yeah, I also just thought it was nice, like towards the end, like you guys kind of like went back to the lab together, and you guys kind of like like the good old days, and you guys were back in the lab just working on stuff, and I thought it was a great closing for you and like your father. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's what I was thinking at least. I don't know if anyone else had questions.
My question for you, Howie,
Mhm.
is I have two questions.
Okay.
The first one is just like a cute question. How long do you think it took after campaign for Howard to reunite with your mom?
For Howard to reunite with Delilah.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, I don't know. I like to think that like how we tried to pull some like Parent Trap bullshit to like get them back together. Um,
Which is weird because Delilah thinks he's dead.
correct. And so I would say probably like a month or two after like we made the cure for the comas. Um, I would feel like at that point either Howard or Howie would be like, okay, so like how do we like tell mom? How do we tell
Yeah.
mom about all of this? So I'd say like yeah, a month or two after probably 2 months after the fight with Duncan, about a month after the cures ish.
Okay. And my second question is in the very beginning of the campaign, when I was
Mhm.
like sprinkling in hints of Howard
Mhm.
being involved but not necessarily alive, what
Mhm.
was your like thought process behind that?
Are you talking about like when Amber was like, "Oh yeah, my boyfriend's name is Howard"?
Yeah.
I was so uncomfortable. I was so uncomfortable because I was um in my head I was like, I know something's up, but she keeps referring to him as her boyfriend. And that is so extremely uncomfortable because if that is the case, then my dead dad is dating this psychotic sorority bitch. And I was trying to figure out, I was like, I know that's not right, but like right now it feels like it is, and I can't I can't let that be true. I was uncomfortable, not in like a bad way, but like I was like ooh, that is not a twist that I expected. um, but it was fun. It was fun for like to like try and figure out like how would Drew react to that situation, and then how would Howie react to that situation. That was really fun. So that was my initial reaction, and then the more we learned about like his involvement and everything, that's when I think it shifted into the oh fuck you that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now we have Vanessa joining us.
Yes.
Oh.
Does anybody have any follow-up questions for Howie?
Yeah. Was Howie at any point, if Howard was really the big bad evil guy, was he willing to like fight him to death if it came to that? Or was he always going to try to not?
That is something that I was going back and forth on for a while, like in the middle of the campaign, like when I thought that like we were gonna have to kill Howard. I was going back and forth on like would Howie do this? And I don't know. I think if it was the last option, yes. But I don't know that he would initially go for that. I think he would try every other option before that.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Interesting.
Noah, Tiara, do you have any questions for Howie?
Well, my first question kind of got answered. It was,
Okay.
were you expecting sort of the, I guess, the plot twist of Howard being all?
I wasn't expecting him being evil. I was expecting him being in the campaign. I was not expecting him like to be evil, but
Right.
I was expecting him being there.
And then my second question was, what was your favorite part about being Howie?
Oh my god. I loved playing Howie. I thought he was so fun. I loved whenever we like did combat because like he just wrecked shit. He just wrecked shit. And that was like fun for me to do. but also, and like I've told Kat this initially in our conversations, like prior to the campaign, is that like Howie was initially going to be like a lot more on edge, I guess, and like almost a lot more like Lawrence, like very like sporadic and like very like aggressive. And then like in the first campaign, like session, I'm sorry, I realized that like that's what Lawrence was, and I was like, well, it's not fun to have two characters like that. Also, Steven is doing it better than I could, so I was like, okay. And then so in about like the third episode, I realized that like Howie is like really, really awkward and like very socially like in that party episode. Um, I was like, oh, he's like so incredibly awkward, and it's like so that was really fun to play as like just like this really awkward person who like doesn't know how to talk to people.
I
So
loved
that
throwing someone flirting at Howie in the party
yeah,
episode. Just
yeah,
to
like,
see him squirm. That was fun.
yeah, and like that kind of stuff, like all through the campaign, where like Howie just doesn't know how to talk to people, was like really fun to like role play. So I think like those are like my two favorite parts of Howie for sure.
Noah, do
Do
you
I-
have any questions?
This isn't really like specific, but like, is there anything you would have done differently?
I think like going back, I would have played Howie differently in the first few sessions. Like I was saying, like I kind of like figured out who he was like around the third or fourth session. I wish I had like kind of known like his role and everything at the first session. But I think that just was something you with any character you play, you figure out who they are as you do them, as you play them. So I don't like beat myself up about that, but I wish that I had known that like that I was like, oh, this is like the role he's going to play going into that, because I feel like I would have RP'd a bit differently for the first 2 or 3 episodes a little bit. But no, I mean for the most part, pretty happy with most of our decisions. I mean, none of us died, so overall pretty okay.
Last question. What was your favorite moment playing Howie?
I think the cabin scene,
Hmm.
absolutely. Like the first one where we meet Howard, that moment where he like has to like talk to his dad for the first time in a while. It was really fun to like role play, and like even like when I was like editing it, like listening back, I was like, this is like intense. this is kind of intense. And so it was really fun to get to do that, because I had really never gotten to that point in a campaign before. So I think that was definitely my favorite moment by far of the campaign.
Nice.
Of course.
All right. I just rolled to see who we're going to be asking next. And Noah, does anybody have any questions they want to ask right off the bat about Keith?
So Noah, this was your first time playing D&D, right?
Yep.
So what was the experience of like doing it on a podcast, A, like for the first time, and then B, like looking back, what would you do differently as a player?
Honestly, like the podcast part was not a big deal for me. Like I know that we would start and end every episode, but like as soon as like I wasn't really thinking about like, oh, people are gonna be listening to me. I need to do XYZ. You know what I mean? Sorry, what was the other question?
Like what would you do like
Well,
differently
Um,
now, like having played a few episodes?
the first 3, yeah, I'm gonna say 3. I kind of was not really sure what to do yet, just because it was my first time playing, and so I think I would have, it, I would have thrown myself into it more earlier, and just committed more. I think, yeah, like as a character, Yeah, I would have committed more as a character.
I think it just sometimes can be just difficult going into something like this, or even not even just for your first D&D, but just like Drew, what you were saying, just about like trying to like figure out your character and stuff like that. And it might be hard the first couple of times to like try to figure out like your character and stuff like that, and how to actually go about while you're playing and stuff like that. But I just think the fun thing is that you always learn stuff, and it's always like, I mean, for me, it's like this is like I was like, now I'm feeling like after doing this, it's like I'm ready to like play another session like with all of you guys,
Mhm.
another campaign, because it's like just like getting to like know the ins and outs of like how everyone likes like just like humor, like how to humor each other and stuff like that, and just knowing like what clicks with us and stuff like that. I think that's like the fun thing about it. Just always being able to like learn from previous games and stuff like that, and take that knowledge and then do something different within the future. And I think that's the great thing about Dungeons and Dragons, and especially with any tabletop role playing game. I think they're super fun to do.
I think another part of it was I did not really know you guys. I really only knew Drew. This was my kind of return to the real deal. I mean, yeah, I like did the Christmas episode. But yeah, I didn't really know you guys, so that was another part of it. Like, I didn't want to just commit because I was still like getting to know you, and I didn't want to be weird.
Yeah.
What was the point where you really knew who Keith was?
I'm gonna be honest. I just kind of played myself. I played myself. Keith was just kind of an extension of myself. I think because it was my first time, I didn't want to do something really crazy because I was still learning. Yeah. But I mean, like I did come up with yeah, he's a character. Like I came up with a backstory and all that, but yeah, like he just was my personality.
Oh yeah, that's super common.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking, because you're saying about like coming up with the backstory and stuff like that, and I was thinking about like the relationship you had with your brother.
Yeah, I
and then
wonder where
more
that came from.
Yeah. But I was also thinking, like, I thought that was great, but I was also wondering to see, like, if there was any sort of backstory, just like if you had any idea about, like, Keith and, like, him and his brother and, like, their relationship, if they, like, with their parents. Did you have anything planned that you wanted to, like, dive into, like, talk about, or, stuff that you wish you talked about more? They had, like, a really good relationship with their parents?
Yeah, I mean, I did give Kat some stuff, like, actually, now that I'm remembering, I did make Keith, like, I decided that he was going to be really rich, and then I just, like, completely forgot about that.
We could have had 2 really rich characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I did forget because...
Oh, 3, yeah.
Who's the third
Drew.
one?
Yeah.
Oh.
Shit, seriously.
Grayson.
Yeah, I mean, that could be more I could talk about later, but I had the idea about him being rich. But also I was like, yeah, I was kind of like thinking like in RP sense, or like my character sense, like if it meant like I was rich, would that mean like, because I didn't know if we're gonna have like currency, like we're gonna have money like in game, like we can spend. And I was like, I want to be able to buy stuff. So like, yeah, my character's rich. Like
I think
so
that's what I was thinking too.
That'll translate to me.
I don't want to limit my
X amount of gold or whatever in my
So
inventory.
my DMs with Noah, the first couple of days, like pre-planning the sessions, were insane, because it was like I would ask him a ton of questions and he would answer one of them. And I was like, okay. And then you gave me like the vaguest of answers, and I kind of understood like, okay, I'm just gonna fill in the blanks myself. And then every once in a while you would DM me and ask me like a really random question, and I'd be like, yeah, of course, do what you want. Like I remember when we were setting up your character sheet for the first time, zooming with you and Drew to try and walk you through D&D Beyond and just a druid. I also remember that I somehow knew you were going to be a druid before you told me you were going to be a druid.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was like a gut feeling or something. I guessed correctly on you and Drew, like Grayson and Noah. Grayson and Keith. I was like, yeah, rogue and druid. I feel it in my bones, and I was right. I remember talking to my grandma specifically about how excited I was to play with a druid in the campaign.
I liked being a druid. Yeah, I liked the nature elements, and I'm glad I got to, even though I only did it twice. I was a deer and a ladybug. I would have liked to do that more.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was
the wild shape.
I was gonna ask that too. I was gonna say because I don't know like how I don't know exactly all the gameplay mechanics or I guess how it works for playing as a druid, but like looking at like your character sheet and stuff like that, and like leveling up, like being a druid, was there like anything you looked at and you're like, man, I really wish I would have done that? Like, was there anything you missed out on that you wish you would have done in the actual campaign?
Let me pull up D&D and Beyond because I'm
D&D
sure
and
there was-
D&D and D&D.
I was
Dungeons
hoping no
and
one caught
Dragons
that.
and
2D
More
more
dragons.
dragons.
Do you guys
and
watch
dragons and dragons and dragons?
Do you guys watch Gravity Falls?
A bit.
Oh, I've heard of
I
it though.
did.
They have like a Dungeons and Dragons, but it's Dungeons and Dungeons.
Dungeons and
Or
Dungeons
and more dungeons or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh
But
my
they
God.
have like the premise of the episode is that they have an infinite sided die, so like anything could happen. So when they roll it, like the characters come out of the game.
Oh, okay.
It's a good episode.
Which
Disney Plus, if you have it.
kind of similar to my idea for next campaign.
Oh.
Mm.
I'll dive into that later.
Okay.
Okay. But also, I remember you didn't come up with Keith's last name until we
The
were
day
filming.
of.
I was like, can you all change your names to your character names so I don't accidentally refer to you as like whatever? And you just put Keith down and everybody had like first and last names and you were like, oh.
What was your favorite part about playing Keith? Or not favorite part, favorite moment of playing Keith. That's what I meant.
Like the favorite thing that I did.
Yeah.
Oh, probably sprinting across the the lobby of the history building.
Oh yeah.
Because like my mind, I was like, I know what the lobby looks like. Like I know that there's no chairs or a pillar or whatever in the lobby in my mind. Like I know I'm not gonna run into anything. Why stumble around? Like there's like something's going on. I need to like. So I was just like, yes, we're gonna just sprint.
I loved that moment because like me and Vanessa, like we like went down like a line. We were like, okay, like we're gonna like sneak around.
Against the
We're gonna sneak around, and then Keith just bolts. I was like, oh no.
And then Keith runs directly into Amber.
Yeah.
And I stepped on your thing,
My
your
robot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Keith apologized for that, so I'm sorry.
You know what? It's fine. It's fine.
I like to think that
okay.
you walk over and you smash it, and then Howie just sees that, and you're like, "What the heck, dude?" And you're just like, you don't even say anything. You're like, anyways, like whatever.
Anyway, that wasn't me.
That was Amber. I swear. Keith, I was curious. What made you want to play a druid?
Well, when I was, what was that? What was that show that Drew was showing me?
Critical Role.
Hamburger helper or handbooker helper. I was like, it had a
Oh,
food.
okay.
Yeah.
And
Critical Role.
they I think like in one of the videos they said something like, if this is your first time playing, like, don't worry about reading all of the things and like making a really informed decision. Just like pick whatever you're drawn to.
Oh yeah.
Really wasn't an answer. I don't know, like nature's
Just
cool.
It's just cool.
Nature's cool. Nature's cool.
Nature, pretty tight. Oh, yeah.
I am also very drawn to playing druids. I have a few druids in my arsenal.
Yeah,
Druids are
so
fun.
Weirdest way of phrasing that.
do you guys just like, oh, I'm bored, I'm gonna make a character?
Absolutely. I
Druid.
do that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
totally.
I say I'm bored, I'm going to create an entire world.
Same. Yeah, I do that.
Yeah, so I think like honestly, oh, I know I'm a sorcerer in my other, which we have not played in like 3 weeks. But I think I'm just gonna keep picking druids until I play with someone that I'm like, oh, I like someone else.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that race better. I'm gonna next character I'm gonna make is gonna be whatever.
Yeah, I just
Because
generally
I don't know. I liked the powers that I got. Like,
yeah,
and
I just
like I
generally like
said, I
to see
do
which one you like the most.
say that again.
Sorry, I was interrupting you the entire time. I'm so sorry.
Because I want to do wild shape some more because I only got to do that twice. I'm sorry, but what was your question?
Wait.
What did you say?
I was just saying, I just like to just not even try to base it off of like the text or like the specifics, like gameplay wise, like how you play as a class. I just like to look, if anything, just like a little simple, just like read through of like what each class is, what you would do, and like an idea of what you do, and then I would just pick whatever I thought just seemed coolest and what I could build a character around. So like it's not weird or bad or anything to do, just based on like what you think's cool. I think that's honestly probably like the best way to do it, honestly.
Yeah.
That way, it's like, why pick something that you will never catch me reading like, oh, if you roll a D12, and then you get to do this and it'll do this. That, like, no, I will read like the fantasy description, like,
Yeah.
vines come out of the ground and ensnare. Like, yes, give me that. Like,
I
I don't
too
care about the damage. Like,
want
if it looks
to
cool and it
ensnare.
sounds cool,
Yes.
I will give it to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Typically, I was saying I start like concept first. So like for Howie, I had like the concept of the character and like what I wanted him to be, and then I was like, what class does that like fit into? And then I just pick one of those. That's, I think, the easiest or the most
Oh, yeah.
fun way to go about it for me, at least.
All right.
But-
Anything else? Any other questions?
Yes, Keith. You're familiar. How'd you feel about that?
That was I didn't honestly. Yeah. I did not know that was a thing when I picked Druid. You were just like one of the times where you said
It's not
"No, we'll see you
necessary.
after class.
Yeah, I did see you after class.
You were like, you get a familiar. I said, great.
So
what the fuck
druids
is
don't
that?"
typically get familiars, but that doesn't make sense to me. So I made it happen.
Word.
Hmm.
This is Cat's world. We're just living in it.
It's true. It's,
You literally.
Literally.
Yeah.
And literally.
Literally, we are living in Cat's world, guys.
Yeah.
Now I want to play Druid, to be quite honest. I've always wanted to.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I
I
thought you
finally-
said Drew and not Druid.
I want to play as
Arthur.
Drew.
I want to be myself in the next game.
Yeah, the next campaign, like we're all like elves and orcs or whatever, and then it's just Drew.
It's
And
just
he
Drew.
doesn't have any powers. He's just Drew.
I just got teleported. I'm like, what? What's going on?
Mhm.
Or we just play as ourselves, like versions of ourselves, but instead of being humans, we're just elves.
It's
Or
like an elf world.
Smurfs.
that's horrifying.
Yeah. We're just a bunch of Smurfs.
Yeah.
Do
But
you
does
think that
anyone
there's a
have any-
rule, like how like Rule 34, but
Ah.
it's like, hey, we're not get your mind out of the gutter.
I
If it
actually
ex-
don't.
You literally said Rule 34. What am I supposed to glean
Can I
from that?
finish? Can I finish? Can I finish?
Okay, finish, but don't
If it
do it in the
exists,
traditional.
Someone's
just so you know,
played it in D&D.
I'm preliminary like putting a
Be
note
careful
down
what
right
you
now
write
for
down,
time.
Drew.
If it exists, someone's played it in D&D. Like, do you think that is a probably fair rule?
All right.
Probably, yeah.
All right. Rule D34.
My
Yeah,
my
there
roommate,
you go.
my roommate.
Because I said there's a
she-
Smurf campaign. Like I'm picturing just the DM like, okay, you're leaving the Smurf village. Gargamel is here.
my Gargamel.
Gargamel is here.
Gargamel's the BBEG, yeah.
Well, because there's like a little thing you can toggle. It's something about Rick and Morty. Like I know people are playing like Rick and Morty campaigns
Yeah.
or like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter. But yeah, the Smurfs. Let's
My-
next
the
season.
Smurfs. So, next season takes place in Smurfville, yeah.
How'd you
Um,
know?
I just read your mind, Cat.
You do have that ability.
Wow.
hmm I was saying, Noah, to your point, that like my roommate, when she was playing D&D for a while, her character was, this is a real quote from her. It was a mass of bees that is covered by a suit shaped like Waluigi, and it was named Waluigi. And
Okay.
that was her character.
Two questions. What
So-
race,
so-
what class?
I simply have no idea. Simply no clue. to
Were they
either question.
what race? Bumblebees.
Bees. Yeah. What don't you get, Steven? But bees.
Okay, fair. That one's
Bees?
on me.
Bees?
That's my favorite Cards Against Humanity card.
I love that one.
Bees?
Does anybody have any further questions for Keith?
All my questions got asked.
Nice. Mine too.
We'll let you go first next, Tiara.
Okay. What? Wait. There's not enough people. I can't roll a d4. Popcorn. Keith, just popcorn.
Steven.
All right, cool. I was hoping for that. All right.
So first of all, did you mean to play an insane character?
Absolutely. From the
Okay.
very probably from session 2 or 3. I think everybody's character got codified in the party in
Absolutely.
session
Yeah.
3. Yeah, that's where we all really took shape.
So
And-
wait, some context for the audience right now. Originally, this game was meant to be played with the 2 Drews and Noah, and that was all. Day of first session, I met Steven
Yes.
and said something along the lines of blah 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 D&D, and he said blah 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 D&D. I'm in. Made a character on the spot
Mhm.
and played just a few hours later.
Yes. I have this capability, people listening in the audience.
So also for audience members, make it known Drew, Noah, and I knew nothing about Steven and just threw him
No.
into the campaign.
Simply nothing.
We
Oh,
knew
yeah.
nothing about Steven. I didn't know that he was a senior. I didn't know he was not a TCOM major. I didn't know anything about him other than the fact that he understood D&D. Not that he necessarily played D&D. And then he showed up first session and immediately started playing an absolute crazy person, which was hard for us because we didn't know anything about you.
I remember the first line that like Lawrence had with like one of us was calling Grayson a dirty hobo. That was the
Yeah.
first time
Oh, yeah.
any of us had interacted with him. We were like, what did we get
Who is
ourselves?
this?
What happened? What did
Yeah.
we get ourselves into?
I was like about to private message Drew Howie and be like, so do I kill him off?
Oh my god, I hadn't even realized that. Holy shit.
we
Yeah.
didn't know anything about you, and suddenly you were in a very important member of this D&D party.
Oh my god, yeah. I had been playing like a bunch of boring characters in the campaigns previous. So I was like, I'm gonna make an interesting character in this campaign. And interesting in this case just meant absolutely
Insane.
deranged and had
Mhm.
no holds bars on anything.
A question.
Mhm.
Was there Lawrence lore that we did not get during the campaign?
My God.
So campaign session 1 or 2, it was realized that Lawrence and Duncan knew each other, and Kat was like, okay, how do you know Duncan? So I made like 20 pages of backstory. Just
20
like,
pages of
yes.
backstory, single spaced.
Yes.
Oh my god.
For fun.
I've never written 20 pages about anything.
Of anything, yeah.
We'll step up. So most of it was transferred. Yeah, I would say so. Fun fact, Lawrence is an economics major. And he speaks Mandarin Chinese. None of that was ever
Oh, okay.
relevant to the campaign.
That
but,
tracks, I feel like, for some
That, no,
reason.
that
That
makes
just
sense.
Yeah.
that
exactly.
makes so much sense to me for some reason.
Oh, and he's an aide of the dean, but he's never going to graduate because he's constantly in grad school working on a thesis, and like he's always with the dean and being her aide. So he's just constantly on that track.
See, but that was something I was kind of confused about, or I guess didn't understand a whole lot of the fact of like you said that Lawrence worked for the dean, but like
Yes.
you were in school, so I was like, I didn't know exactly if you actually stated like what year he is or like how old he actually is, because I was kind of up in the air. Like I honestly had no idea what Lawrence was like age wise and stuff like that. So I kind of just to myself just assumed that like maybe he's close to Steven's age. So like maybe he's like his age. So he's like, close to Grace and all that stuff like in college. But like he's how old is, I guess if anything, how old is Lawrence? I don't even know.
I think I had sort of slated him as being a few years into grad school, quote unquote, into grad school, but probably like 26. So
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
It's like
A
it's like
little.
mid 20s.
Yes.
That's why I was okay. So that was there's a thing about
Oh.
grad school and then like working with the dean. I was like, at first I was like, oh, is he like does he work for the school? Like he's not a student? And then he was like, no, he's a student. I was like, oh, so he's like our age.
Mhm.
And then he was like saying something about grad school. I was like, and then he said that, I was like, okay, so he's probably like mid 20s or so.
All of this is sort of intentionally obfuscated because like he would just never say anything about his backstory because that's giving away information.
Yeah, yeah. I think Lawrence always just like stuck to the current, what's happening in current time. Like,
Yes.
you know.
Mhm.
I was trying to think if I had anything else. I don't know. Someone else go. I'll come back.
I can. So Steven,
Mhm.
Lawrence and Duncan. So Duncan obviously was madly in love with Lawrence.
Mhm.
I know that Lawrence in character said, no, I just view him as a brother. I
Yeah.
do not think Lawrence is a reliable narrator in any sense of the word. In any sense.
Mhm.
How do you feel about that? That relationship?
If
How
Lawrence,
do you like
yeah.
actually view that relationship? Like
Mhm.
versus like what Lawrence thinks it is versus like what it actually is.
If Lawrence was emotionally capable of like putting it all into words, he would probably say Duncan is like the closest thing he's ever had to a best friend.
Okay.
But if he would actually say it, he's like, "Oh man, he's my good pal." In the same way that there's that one vine of like they were roommates, but people say they were roommates
Yeah.
to mean like all sorts of funny shit. So it would come off like totally incorrect and weird, but like this is the closest thing he's ever had to like really strong uh relationship, be it like romantic, friendly, or like familial. So it's
So
all
it's
like,
just like
yeah,
his closest relationship in any sense of the word. In
pretty much,
in
yeah.
every sense. Oh, okay. Oh, that's
Mhm.
interesting. Okay, that's really interesting
Yeah.
actually. I
I'll
see
say
because go ahead, Kat.
I'll say as the person who got the privilege of reading the 20-page backstory, I 100% thought that Lawrence was in love with Grayson with Duncan.
Man.
Yeah, I knew there was definitely something between Lawrence and Duncan. I don't know if it had been stated explicitly for a while, but I like to think that Grayson, but even me, I just thought like, I think there's something between those two. It's like I don't know what it is, but they have something.
Well, I remember there was a conversation between Howie, Grayson, and Keith. We were walking the cars or something, and we were like, "What the fuck is up with them? What's going on?" Which that was a really fun conversation. But yeah, like it never was like super explicitly addressed. I didn't think.
Mm-hmm. You'd be giving away information.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Kept it
The
interesting.
best part is that your answer, I'm still unclear.
Deep role play. Shit.
I don't think I'm gonna get an answer.
No.
So
Always be thinking.
Mhm.
Well, I was thinking since we were asking everyone else, like for you, Stephen, as Lawrence, what was like your favorite moment playing as Lawrence?
I think there are quite a few moments. I think it would probably be in the last session where Duncan was downed and everyone started off like, okay, how do we deal with this? And Lawrence was like, let's kill him. Everybody, let's go. There's no other good option. And everybody was like, no, let's not do that. And over the course of like 45 minutes, it goes like, maybe we should kill him too. Okay, yeah, everybody, let's kill him. And only Vanessa was like, let's pump the brakes here, folks. Yeah. We might be inciting a maelstrom of epic proportions. So just turning the tides of murder morality simply through words was an achievement in role playing that I don't think I've achieved before.
And I was thinking of something else just to ask. So I know because you said that Lawrence is a wizard, correct?
Yes.
Was there anything else Lawrence can do other than use magic missile?
Oh my god.
Yes. Magic missile is just so busted. It's just the correct option. You can't counter it. You can't defend against it. It always hits. It does guaranteed damage. And it hits exactly what you throw at it. It's like I could have used fireball so many times, but that would have hurt the melee people. I could have like teleported in and started strangling, but all I have is like a knife and a little bit of arms. So that was just a bad option. I could have like sent a message into their mind, but that doesn't help us in combat. So it's just like magic missile is just the best option.
Yeah. So basically, no magic missile.
For season 2, banned.
It is banned for season 2.
They just don't exist.
Stephen, what kind of wizard is Lawrence? Like what, like school?
Off the books, it was like self-taught.
Okay.
Which reasonably would have meant like he was accessing the deep web and like figuring this shit out by himself. But on sheet, it would have been illusion magic.
Oh, okay, cool.
Which never came up either. Of like could have used illusions and shit, but like there was really never at any point a good option to just like wizard up some conjurations and stuff. Yeah, so it's just how it falls.
I'll say my favorite Lawrence moment was from episode 1. When I had no idea who this Steven person was. Suddenly he's playing D&D with me, but also I'm playing as Duncan and it's just they're vibing so well and it's just working and I'm like, wow, this is a D&D player if I've ever seen one. Like that was one of like I felt like really proud of myself to be able to like create an NPC in which Lawrence could be like even Lawrence could like be attached to.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Speaking of that sort of thing as well, knowing that Noah had never played D&D before, and in session 1, in character, just like, hey, who are you? I know who you are. Where are you right now? It's like,
Oh, I forgot about that.
in my room. And I just like waddle into his room and just like give a long diatribe about the nature of magic in a very paranoid way.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Holy shit. That was probably the worst person to do it to because you have wildly skewed information about
Mhm.
how magic works by that point.
I love that moment. I love that moment a lot. That was
Mhm.
I was cracking up just like that whole interaction. And you're
Yeah.
like, were you saying something about the fact that you're like, let me come over to your dorm at some point. You like Lauren said that to Keith, and then like you got there and you like knock on the door and you're like, I'm here. And then you guys just like go in your dorm and have like this discussion. I don't know. It was just funny.
Mhm. Good. Yeah. Lawrence was a lot of fun to play.
Mhm.
Is
Oh, yeah.
there
Good.
a recap that you made for episode 1?
Geez, I don't know. It was a long while ago.
So to the audience at home,
Yeah.
we have been doing this thing since the beginning in which Steven makes a little recap image with just like stock images collaged together, and it's really funny.
It's like almost like the episode without context type deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the first
Um,
one is the party one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's session 3. Yeah, everything came together in session 3, it seems. So
You guys
yeah.
really came into your own at session 3, which I was
Mhm.
Wait, why? What are the bees? What
Queen
are the
bee.
bees?
That's the
Oh,
joy of this type of thing. Coming back to it and have no idea what it means. It's a treasure.
That's why we do this.
because I remember that I put bees, but it was he's like bees.
Wasn't it
Yeah.
something like he was describing the nature of sorority?
Oh,
as they were all
Yes.
Oh,
bees?
that's
How to
right.
find the queen bee.
That's right.
because
yeah.
session 3 is also where we got Vanessa.
Yeah.
It's true.
So basically what we're saying is that we can't play without you.
Yes.
Basically, yes.
So I was thinking about what everybody's alignment would have been like effectively rather than what it would have been like designated from the very beginning. I thought Howie and Keith were just like lawful good, no matter what, like following the rules, following them right, even if they have like slight derivations for revenge or hatred at some points. It's usually like good guys doing good things for good reasons. Vanessa and Grayson were mostly like following the rules most of the time, but like not necessarily for the sake of like doing good, but just like doing the things, doing them generally erring on the side of good.
So like true true
Probably
neutral.
probably
I mean,
neutral,
or true or neutral.
Neutral good?
neutral good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lawrence, lawful evil.
Absolutely. Well, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was
Yeah,
thinking
that's-
chaotic good.
Chaotic good.
No.
I don't.
I think lawful evil. I think that hits the mark, honestly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Lawrence is like the prime example of lawful evil, honestly.
Yeah. Nothing would stop him from doing what was in his eyes what should be done. Nothing at all.
Isn't necessarily what should be done.
Probably not. But that little gray zone between the two Venn diagrams is where the magic happens.
Haha.
Yeah. So
That was something I don't even think I came up with like for my character, like their alignment.
Mhm.
So I think that's good that you were thinking of that. I think those track with each of us, like what we fall under for the alignment.
Mhm. Mhm. And having this contrast of like two good people, two pretty decent people, and one person just like, I'm gonna solve this problem, was really highlights everything.
But Steven, you can go ahead and popcorn to someone if you don't have anything else to say.
All right. Drew, Grayson.
All right. What do you guys want to know?
Ooh, what do you want to know?
Tell me.
So I have a question.
Shoot.
How do you feel about the fact that I turned you into a werewolf?
Yeah. That was something I really did not expect, but I don't know. It just felt like that's something. It just felt right. I don't know. Just
That
the
was
idea.
my entire reasoning.
Just I don't know if it's like the fact of like him being like a rogue and being very dexterous, and like that ties in with like werewolves being like very speedy and quick and stuff like that. That just makes it sound like it just works, or just the idea of Grayson just at point just being like becoming a werewolf just sounds interesting. Yeah, but I think I was thinking like when it came to that moment and I had to like roll for a save. I don't remember what I rolled, like Constitution or something like that save. That I thought it was just a matter of like in that moment, like I got bit, so like I might take extra damage. Like I would take like the initial damage and it just like be some more. And like I didn't expect it to be like something that would affect him in like the long term. But no, I
Because
thought it was
Lawrence also
great.
got bit.
Yeah.
Get a,
No, Lawrence,
decent immune system.
Lawrence was getting screwed in that
Oh,
whole fight. Like, weren't you on the brink of
Oh,
death?
Absolute. Every time there was combat, except for the final boss, I was absolutely floored.
Yeah, I
Playing a
was gonna say,
squishy
like,
wizard is not a good idea for long-term survival strategies.
I was gonna say, I feel like that was like the only time we ever had anyone like really close to death, like being like like we have to make like death saves. But no, I didn't think much about it at the time. I was just like, oh, I got bit, like I'll just take some more damage. But like they didn't finding out basically that he would turn into a werewolf. I thought that was like a really cool, like another interesting side to like have for like Grayson and stuff like that. So I loved it, and I like to think that Grayson probably was a little worried at first and didn't know what to expect, but then after like meeting with like Howie and his father and stuff like that, and learning to like control it, that he's like, this is cool. Like this is just something else. He's like, it's dope. Hell yeah. So I thought it was cool.
I had always had it like I had everything planned from the very beginning. Like these are the combat sessions you're gonna have, and I was always like, they're gonna be werewolves because you guys are gonna go into the forest. I tell you not to, you're gonna do what I say not to do. You're gonna go into the forest. And I was like, when you're in there, there's gonna be werewolves because you can't. There's not gonna not be a fight in there.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And when I was like, when the wolves were attacking, I was like, I don't know why, but it's gonna be Grayson who ends up getting bit. And it just you were the one who didn't save.
Yeah, I feel like if any of us were to become werewolves, I feel like Grayson is the most obvious pick for that. So like it kind of worked out. And it just sucks for the fact like I couldn't play as a werewolf. I don't know how exactly that would work in terms of like if like it got to a point where combat or whatever, and like if I turn into a werewolf, how that would work for me in terms of like how I would play the game differently, like especially for fighting. But yeah, that was something I after knowing that and knowing the fact that he could turn into a werewolf and then did, I was like, man, that was something I really wish I could be able to like utilize in like actual combat and stuff like that. But I thought it was really cool. So
I have two related questions. Was Cliff created by you or Kat? And then why was Cliff so important to Grayson?
yeah, no, so Cliff was something I thought of. I kind of just came up with the idea of trying to figure out some way for Grayson to kind of tie in with the missing people. And I like the idea of having him be someone that was into like music and stuff like that. Because I myself am a really big fan of music and just like all different kinds of stuff. But like playing as someone that would actually like perform and stuff like that, I thought would be really interesting to play. So Cliff was something I thought about, and like I was thinking about the fact like, okay, well, like maybe he's like part of a band. And then I got to a point where I was like, okay, then maybe one of the members from this band that he was a part of went missing. And I don't remember exactly what it was. I think I had known before we even started that he was someone that went missing, Cliff. But I don't know if it was like a matter of like, I thought of it because a lot of times, like sometimes I kind of like thought on the spot of like backstory and stuff for Grayson. Um, but I think for someone like Cliff and having him be someone that went missing would give like Grayson this drive, this motivation to like look for those. And that's like for his arc basically throughout this campaign was just being able to find that missing person that was so close to him, not only for the fact of like, oh, he was a part of this band that I was a part of, I need to get him back so we can like perform again, but just the idea that Cliff was the one person throughout most of Grayson's life that he looked up to and was always very close with. So it was like a really dear friend of his. So that was like his motivation. And like the idea was like he would be going to school, and he was never someone that really was interested in wanting to actually go to school. But since the way I made it was that since he was came from a very wealthy background, that his parents put him through school, even though he didn't want to go through it. And it was like usually after a while, handful of years, that he would just be slacking, go about his days. But it was only until that Cliff went missing that he finally had a reason to do anything. Because before that, it was like he had been missing, and for a while there, I was thinking that Grayson just like went to a very like deep and like dark place in his life. They went into like a big slump, and just him finding some reason to go about his days and stuff like that. And then the fact of like he lost someone so close to him that like he needs to do something about it. I thought that was like a really interesting, and I thought that would like be like a really good motivation for his character. And then like that would be something he would accomplish, that arc he would accomplish over the entire campaign. I thought that would be really interesting to explore. So, but yeah, Cliff. And then it really got to a point where I was trying to think of names like or like a name for him that I kind of just like randomly looked up, just like American like a name generator for like male names, and I saw Cliff, and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of like Grayson and Cliff. I was like, okay, so I used Cliff as his name. I couldn't, outside of that, I couldn't really think of one, and I felt like that one just clicked. But yeah, no, so that's why I was for Cliff and stuff like that. That's what I was thinking about for him.
Grayson, in episode 3, the biggest episode, there was a moment where you had like the option, like either talk to this group or this group or this group, and one of the options was talk to your rival bandmate.
Yeah.
You didn't end up choosing that, but you want to talk more about the rival band?
Yeah. So to be quite honest, that was also something I kind of thought of like off the cuff. Like I thought of the idea of like him having like some sort of rivalry between like another band, and the idea of like the fact of like I like to envision the fact that because Grayson's a senior during this campaign, and growing up for most of the time, Cliff was a year ahead of him. And I had the other people's names that were in the band, but I forgot. Casey was he the bassist? I'm about to look it up right now, actually, just my notes really quick.
I had that document that you sent me up
Backstory.
at all times because I could never remember these names.
Yeah. So the idea was like I was thinking is like Grayson was the youngest out of this band, and there was Cliff who was a year ahead of him. Brandon was the bassist, and Casey was the drummer for the group, and they all were in the same year as Cliff. And basically, for a year or so, when Cliff had went to school, but Grayson still wasn't of age, like to actually enroll and stuff like that, that he found those other two guys. And then since Cliff already, I would say that Cliff explained to them the fact that like he's close with Grayson and stuff like that, and they're both wanting to be a part of a band. That's like when their band started like to become a thing. And then again, also with like the name of the band was just something I randomly just picked up. But I thought it'd be interesting. Crazy Purple Day is the band for my group or Grayson's group. And then Sausage Boogie was the name of the rival band. And to be quite honest, I didn't have a whole lot of like backstory or I guess like in-depth details of like each member of the band and stuff like that. Like all I had, I guess if anything, it was the idea about the lead vocals for that band was someone I gave some sort of backstory about. And I might have explained it. I think I might have explained it a little bit. We talked about it a little bit during like the first couple of episodes because I was like trying to like look into this band. So I like looked them up on like social media and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm rambling. But the idea was that when Grayson first started going to school there, him and the other three started their band and that they were very well known. They did a lot of gigs and stuff like that. And they were super popular and everyone knew them and loved them and stuff like that. But then it got to a point that Cliff had gone missing and the band before that had a little bit of difficulties and stuff like that. They might have argued a couple of times and then they kind of went astray for a little bit. And it was during that time that this new band of people that went to the same school made their own band and they became like the replacement band. So then it was like everyone was now looking up to them. And that was something I was thinking that could be like something interesting to have for Grayson. And the idea of like, he wants to find Cliff so he can get it, so he can have his friend back, but also the fact that he can have Cliff come back because he was the lead vocals. He wants to have him come back for the fact that they can finally come back together as a band and show everyone again why Crazy Purple Day was the best band to come out of Arcana University and not this Sausage Boogie thing. Like the idea was like, I was having Grayson like a lot of times to like say like, talk about like, oh, like who would even listen to them? They're washed up, stuff like that, that they're not even that good. Once I get Cliff back, we're going to show them why we're the best and stuff like that. So yeah, when it came to, I think because you said it was the guitarist was there, right, Kat, for the other group? Yeah. So the guitarist I wrote for his name was Cody, and Cody spelled with a K, because that's just how he rolls, I guess. Yeah, that was something I wanted to do. I wanted to interact with him, but I was trying to think of how I would go about talking to him because, like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of like backstory, I guess, like details about like Grayson's relationship with all of them. I just had the general idea about Grayson. He has this one band, they were great. Then they kind of split, but then there's this other band that's like a rival band, and that gets on his nerve because he doesn't want them to see being like the band that everyone talks about and stuff like that. He wanted it to be his band. So just having that rival of like trying to retake the throne, if you will, take the crown back of being like the band that, you know, everyone at the school knows. So that was definitely something I wish I would have done during the party, interact with them. But it was just a matter of, and I feel like for you, Kat, that it was like a matter of like trying to come up with stuff on the fly. Not that I didn't think that you were capable of that, because I think you proved it, not even just me, I feel like to everyone, that a lot of stuff that we might not have known, you filled in those gaps like incredibly well, like they made it flow and stuff like that. I was just thinking, if anything for me, it was just like I'm trying to think of this Grace, and I was like, how do I interact with this person? I don't know, other than I'd be like, I'm a better guitarist than you, or something like that. Like that's it. That's his argument. That's what he's gonna bring to when he speaks with Cody. So yeah, that was something I wish I would have explored more. But yeah, I thought it was a good nod though, good tease to see, like, you know, seeing like people and stuff like that he knew that get on his nerves and stuff like that. I thought that was like really good and interesting to see. So
It's coming slowly.
Something about being a rogue. Why did you want to play a rogue?
Well, I think I've explained this a little bit. I don't know if it's to Noah or Kat or whatever, or I don't remember who exactly I said it to, but I feel like not even with just DnD, because including this, the only other campaign I've ever been part of was Kat's group that I was introduced to. Those were the only 2 times I ever really played D&D. So I was kind of in the same boat as Noah, that I wasn't really sure who to play or how it goes and stuff like that. All I knew is that I had watched, like what Noah was saying about Critical Role, and I've watched them for damn near at this point like 3 years or something like that, and I've loved it so much. But I was always upset for the fact that I didn't have exactly a group to play it with. I really wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. I thought it looked super fun, and playing other role-playing games and stuff like that, not even just tabletop, but just video games per se. That I just think it's super fun, and I just thought it'd be super fun to do it with actual people and stuff like that. So I feel like for me to pick Rogue was the fact of like any role-playing game that I would play, I would usually always be one to be like, I don't want to be someone that's sneaky or stealthy, because I find that to just be boring. I want to be up in the front. I want to be the tank, or just dealing all the damage and stuff like that. And for a while, like when I was like making characters for fun, I first had the idea of just like, I'll just be a barbarian, because that's pretty straightforward. You just hit stuff pretty much and you rage. That's like the basis of it. There's not a lot of in-depth stuff you have to look at. You don't have to prepare spells and no spell slot levels and stuff like that, whatever, for like wizards and sorcerers and stuff like that. So I was just like, maybe I'll just play a rogue in the sense of I'll just be super sneaky, stealthy, and that'll be my thing. The fact of like, I will just make it so I just can constantly hide as a gag, but also like for the fact of like, it's just different. I've never done something like that before. So I literally just made it for the sense of like Grayson was proficient in stealth. So like I had, with my dexterity and all that stuff, Grayson towards the end, actually pretty early on, his modifier went up a shit ton, and I ended up with a +10 in stealth. So it was insane. So I was just like, that would be funny.
I thought Duncan's stats were good.
No, Grayson, yeah. At least when it comes to stealth, yeah. No, he's good. I think the only other high thing I had was like acrobatics, which was like a +7, because that's dexterity based, and that was like my highest skill. And then perception too. Perception, or sleight of hand too. Sleight of hand, but also perception were pretty high for me. So I was just like, I usually don't play stealth. Okay, I'll just try to be the stealthiest I can possibly be. And also for the idea of like, I don't want to do someone that is magic based. I don't want to make a character. I just wanted the idea of someone just making a character that just like didn't believe in that stuff. Thought it was, if he did hear about it or knew about it, that he thinks it's ridiculous. Why do that? I can literally just stab someone and hide. That's what I was just thinking. So I was like, okay, I'll just make a rogue, and I'll just make him as stealthy as possible. So like, when it came time for like combat and stuff like that, obviously I'm gonna hide, because he has a freaking +10 modifier. Like, I'm gonna take advantage of that. So I don't know. I just thought it was making sure, like, I love when Grayson hides. I'm like, he's kind of a one-trick pony, the way I see it. All he knows how to do is hide. So that's what I made him to be, and that's what I did. But I was like, sure, I'll be a rogue for that. So I thought it was cool.
He also knows how to stab people really well.
Very well. Very well.
That's part of rogue, just like the matter of like sneak attack and stuff like that, and like, and then I think the first time, because I remember, I think it was the first time we fought in the classroom, and I rolled a natural 20, so I crit. Yeah. And it was considered sneak attack. Like, it was a sneak attack. So like, I added my basic attack like damage, and then I added sneak attack, and then like I doubled it. So like, I did an insane amount for my very first like combat encounter with Grayson. And at that point I was like, shit, rogues are insane. Like, if you can hit that and get that sneak attack, like, they are insanely crazy good. At least when it comes to damage, at least. So I just thought it'd be different. I just thought, I usually just play someone, I'd just be out in the open, and I would just hack. I would think like I would just hack and slash, take a bunch of hits, but deal a bunch of damage and stuff like that. But I was like, maybe I'll play a little slower. Maybe I'll just be like, I'm just gonna hide, and I'll let you guys do your thing. And when I want to pop out, I'll go for it, and then I'll just go back into hiding. So that's just kind of like how I built him, because I just thought it'd just be fun and just different. So, but I like playing Rogue. I thought it was great.
Mhm.
Why is there two?
Life sure was easy when other people are solving your problems.
Yeah.
My favorite crit of yours, and not only yours, but like everyone's, was when you guys were heading to the cabin and 3 out of 4 of you critted.
Oh,
Oh,
on the
yeah.
stealth checks.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. That was insane.
that was
Nobody can see us.
insane.
Nobody. Mm-hmm.
And like, it wasn't it
Uh,
like whoever didn't like crit like got like a 19 or something.
It was
Yeah.
Keith didn't crit but got a 19.
Yeah.
And the rest of you crit, which is what, a 30 for Grayson?
Yeah, some
Like,
insane.
Like, you're not seen. That was like my reaction to that was crazy.
Yeah, but it was just like that. Because I vividly remember the first time I was like gonna attack or whatever. It might have been like the second attack. I don't remember, but it was the fact like the first encounter, I rolled a natural 20, and I was like, oh wait, that's like crit. That's like a crit. So like I doubled the damage, or like double the amount. And I was like, oh my god! And it was sneak attack, so I had another 2d or 1d6, 2d6, whatever. I was like, holy crap! So like I obliterated that person, but I was like, okay, cool. I just hide and then I stab and then I hide. Like I was like, sure, I'll go for it. So no, but I had a lot of fun playing Rogue. That was something I would never really do. So it was cool to actually do that for once.
Oh, what was? Did you already say what was your favorite moment, Miss Grayson?
No, I didn't, and I've been thinking about that, and I feel like there were so many interactions. I feel like there was just a lot of interactions that he had with like everyone in the party and stuff like that were so great. I I think, yeah, Taco Bell. Taco Bell was pretty good. I thought I thought that was really funny to do. The way I envisioned Grayson was that he was someone that really like he really even as much as like when he was part of the band and stuff like that, and everyone knew him and stuff like that, that he didn't really want to be like the middle of attention, but like he kind of sticks to himself a little bit. But like at times I could have his moments. So like, and then I also just thought about the fact like, yeah, when it came to like Taco Bell and stuff like that, that I just thought that'd just be funny to do, because I feel like he would just have like those just like goofy intentions sometimes. We would be in the middle of like this really tense moment and just be like, let's go to Taco Bell. Huh? How about we do that? But I really am proud of myself, and I really liked when I was explaining Grayson after he had basically went to the cabin and saw Cliff for the first time in however many months or how long it's been, half a year, and the him him basically pulling out a jacket that used to belong to Cliff, which was something I kind of thought of on the fly that I thought sounded pretty good. And I like the idea about having him have a cigarette and stuff like that. And I was thinking about the idea that like Grayson for a while dealt with having addiction to like nicotine, stuff like that, and smoking a lot. And that was a really bad habit that he was trying to break.